Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself a spooky witch's house. A little bit unorthodox with its red roof and such, but still, it's a nice build. You can build it relatively quickly, and it uses a bunch of cheap materials. So without further ado, let's investigate how we'd go about this. Starting off, we need to get ourselves a decently flat area. You can see I already built part of this on a not very flat area, and how it works perfectly fine. You can also see how we have a unique shape, so let's go over that. It's not actually just a rectangle. You can see we have an almost square, or maybe an actual square here. We have a protrusion here, and then we have another bump out right here. All these are going to work together, where this side thing could be a shed almost, this part can be tall, and this one could connect to the tall part, which makes it all a unique shape while still making it practical for survival. So it was a little much to take in, but still, make a shape and just overlay it on the terrain. The block doesn't particularly matter. Now for the palette. I actually started this video but had to just completely restart. Deep Slate wasn't working. So let's start with a nice, interesting stone palette. On our lowest parts, we're going to be assuming that you're building on somewhat uneven, so the lowest parts should be pale. Like this, a little bit of pale here, goes up and down, and maybe in like streaks of sorts. Then let's move over to acacia like this. And after we do a little bit of acacia in here, we can upgrade ourselves to tuff, which is a little bit lighter. And then we can go to stone, and how we're really making a gradient here. And then finally, we end off with andesite. This part in particular is going to be a little bit taller, so I'm actually going to space out these gradients, make each segment maybe a block taller. And then if we get even higher, we'll just find another block that's lighter than andesite, but not quite diorite, which should not be terribly difficult. And if it is too difficult, potentially you can just start incorporating new things, like cyan terracotta would work wonderfully into this if something really goes wrong. So yeah, we have all of this working together as a nice palette. So let's try incorporating that. Low parts pale, top parts andesite. And make sure that one part is ready for a second floor. Something like this roughly. Right here, we have the shape of a house, and what do you know? With the gradient in place, it actually looks really good. We have the pale going to acacia, to tuff, to stone, then we will have another small roof here before it connects to the main one. We'll have the same thing over here, stuff like that. We go from stone, andesite, and then light gray concrete powder. So hooray, we now have a completed wall. Now we need to worry about the roof. And the roof is of course very interesting, as you saw by the intro. I don't actually know what I'm going to do yet. I do not prepare for these builds. These are all done without a script. Yeah, this entire video is unscripted. But still, let's say our gradient, let's use all the blocks. We want to go redder and redder as we go. So let's say we go to terracotta, to concrete, to wool, to concrete powder. Remember, you can place string as a block. And then we can go to maybe like red glazed terracotta. And then for some reason, let's just do pale. Of course, don't go straight to pale. Make sure you do at least a little bit of pink to actually make that transition. But still, now let's do something weird for the roof. Instead of doing a natural gradient where we go darker then lighter, add a few points. So this point and this point, these will be our lightest parts. And with the lightest parts, we want to make our colors radiate outward. So let's pretend this is white to black. So we have white, then light gray, and then gray. Over here, we go back to light gray. But because there's nothing over here, let's say the roof continues, we went from light gray to gray here, and then we go to like black, and then like actual dark black. So we have all of that working together. And by doing so, you can actually manipulate the viewer's eyes, because we want to look at smooth things. I mean, over there, we can see a nice smooth thing saying mince raft, stuff like that. The eyes love smooth conformity. That's why you want to get lighter as you go up a gradient, because it makes you look up. In fact, it even makes your builds look taller than they really are. Because look at this tree. Does this tree right here seem only half the height of this, or does it seem like a third? That's the trick of having colors incorporated. So let's make these swaths of color, like a dark red band in the middle, and stuff like that. It really makes the eyes flow better. And of course, I'm the tutorial creator, and you'll see my gradient in a moment. Right here, we have the roof, and you can see it's all made of netherrack for now. This is for simplicity, we're going to be using the darkest block. And if you want, you can also just use the cheapest block. Either one works. And of course we're in creative, so it doesn't really matter. So netherrack it is. And you also see how we have our lightest block, red glazed terracotta, in blotches like this. Notice the randomized direction of them. So be careful of that. So we have these blotches, we have the little side shed roof. I had to make sure this poked out a little, so I shrunk this part by 2 blocks. So now we have that. And then we have this part, how it just protrudes like this, and we have a little pointy thing at the end. So hooray, we have a roof, but we still need to texture it. And of course, we have to go piece by piece. If you are in Java Edition and using concrete powder, I recommend using this command, /tick freeze. And now that the game is frozen, we can actually just build really quickly. Because look, this doesn't matter anymore. We don't deal with gravity, only our character does. Which means we can actually build completely freely with any block we want for now. So I recommend doing that. Our first block from the glazed terracotta is radiating outwards in a randomized pattern with a little bit of red concrete powder. It does not need to be solid, you can have holes in it. Then we go to a bit of red concrete and how this comes together. And by the way, we also have nether wart block. And you can imagine, do you want to use this? If not, then you can completely skip it. I don't think it works in the palette anymore because it's simply just so dark. Alternatively, you could make a darkness-centered gradient where you start at nether wart and then go outward to like red concrete powder. That's definitely a possibility. And although it's a very vibrant block, I don't think I'll be able to use it unless I mess some stuff up. But still, if we have all this radiating outward, it will look very interesting. With a little bit of palette tinkering, you can see how we go from red glazed terracotta to the concrete powder to concrete, managed to incorporate the nether wart, and then down to red nether brick, got rid of the netherrack. Now we have this really weird looking roof, where we have these streaks of red going through with these blotches of lighter red. And I think it works together really well actually. So hooray, we did this. Time is still frozen because we have this problem called the ceiling. And yeah, if we were to place string all across in order to make sure nothing fell, well, I don't think this is a very good ceiling in of itself. So we definitely need to do something. Additionally, we could think about adding something like a tower to this, like right here where we make some sort of square and just have it rise up, if you get what I mean. Although I'm not entirely sure if I want to pull that. Still, let's worry about some of the simple things about this. Of course, we have the roof, and if you built this in Bedrock Edition and you're like, how do I do concrete powder then? Just use a placeholder that's not affected by gravity. Maybe something like blue, so that way you're forced to replace it later. And now, for our roof, we can see how we still have that gradient going. Because all of these blocks, especially the lighter ones, still have stair variants, then we actually have no issues. And of course, we even have cobblestone. For some parts, like right here, I had to incorporate a little bit of cobblestone. Actually, wait, I didn't mean to do that. That's an error. But still, if you incorporated cobblestone into your gradient, you should have no issues. We can just go like this and make a simple stone roof. And I guess the frogs are becoming part of the wall, so I'm going to have to get rid of them later. But yeah, let's just make this go across. Let's not worry about rafters or anything. I'm going to try to go for basically little to no wood in this build. And when we have that, add some redstone torches, add some lanterns for proper lighting, and then we'll have a ceiling. And then do that across here, corresponding to our gradient. We'll include some things to make sure that it still works, maybe like a net of nether brick. Heading into the build, I did some preliminary interior work. So first, the floors, you can see a continuation of the side gradient now going all the way to cobbled deep slate. I originally used deep slate, however I found cobbled deep slate to just be a better choice for this, simply because the contrast it provides. Then, for the ceiling, we have a little bit of an arch, and we have some lanterns hanging from nether brick fences with nether bricks under them. And then we even have a redstone torch chandelier. And you're probably thinking, well, what if I'm on Bedrock? We have less interesting redstone torches, admittedly. It's completely fine, continue using them. And then we see on the walls, for actual lighting, we can use normal torches. And we can use redstone torches anyways, but remember, the redstone torches are only half the strength of the normal torch. So yeah, you have to be careful. Alternatively, we can use the power of gray carpet with shroom lights under it in order to provide hidden lighting, so that way we can have more freedom. Anyways, we have all this, we have the arch hugging the ceiling, and then some arches with nether brick with chains and lanterns. So hooray, we have a basic interior ready. Now, we need to also worry about the windows, and we're going to have some windows larger than others. However, because the windows are going to be so, odd on this build, think about how we have everything set up. It's going to definitely be a process to design them. Along with that, we do need to eventually add a front door. Whether it's a single or double is completely up to you, but make sure that the orange parts or white parts of your logs are not visible, because that ruins the immersion that this is a type of stone. Now, I'm starting to work on the windows, and you can see here how they're just simple holes with a ton of deep slate surrounding them, like this. So it's pretty simplistic, but still, we have just deep slate bricks. Notice the walls, and here's just all of them. Right here, because of a security hazard, I wanted to have a window, but at the same time, there's just issues, so I put in normal fences. And another thing, there are fence gates in the windows. This is just a little extra detail, and by the way, I added a staircase here, like there's just another wall, and then use stairs here with black concrete in order to make like a little hole. Stairs up here, this can be our bedroom. But anyways, the fence gates change their direction based off of the direction they were opened from. So you have to keep this in mind. So you see how they're closed here? This one opens outward. Now if I do this from the inside, now they're opened inward. And this can be a serious issue. Always open them from the inside, because otherwise it looks unrealistic. It's not a major detail, but still. I also added pale doors, they're just the most fitting. And remember to use your logs. Right here we have these logs, and right here we have, well, logs. And we're meant to be using wood, that's what I meant. And you can see here, much better. So hooray, we have windows now, and remember, mobs can jump through them. You might want to leave them closed, you might want to just make a secure area in your base, like an iron door, a basement, etc. Or you could just not add them. But still, that does ruin a little bit of the aesthetic of the build, so you have to be careful. Additionally, we should make a porch, so more deep slate. Right here, the build is looking a lot more complete because I did a few little changes here and there. So first, our porch. There are a few jack-o'-lanterns scattered around the build in little piles. Fun fact, pumpkins are considered berries actually. And we have some mangrove leaves going across here in order to spice it up. This makes it look like there's foliage. That way, well, it's just more interesting. Additionally, let's use some glow lichen on it. I completely forgot about this, but still, it mixes into the build. On the actual leaves, you can see how it really doesn't work, but on certain things like the acacia, it looks decent. But additionally, it provides lighting, which is very important. Then I scattered this all around. Right here, we have a hidden shroom light, and, well, more pumpkin piles. And, well, it really adds a lot to the build. Additionally, the roof is all glowy now because I hid some shroom lights into that too. So here's how you do it. We have a stair block incorporated into this. We have the red nether brick. So what we do is we go up to a piece that looks pretty dark, and then we place a backward stair like this, then we place a shroom light behind it. And this might be like, Gearsaw, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Well, let's think about it. You are predominantly walking on the ground. Of course, if you have an elytra, that can change, but still, you're usually not staring at a build while flying an elytra, otherwise you're going to be crashing into it. So from here, you can't actually see anything, but it keeps the build well lit. So actually, it just works out. So hooray! Let's incorporate a little bit of glow lichen, but now we also have to incorporate, an actual house into this structure. We have a bedroom here. It's not the comfiest place, but we need furnaces, enchanting, stuff like that. Additionally, let's dig up this area right here in order to make a basement. This basement will have things like our storage units, because as someone who likes excessive amounts of storage, this upstairs area just wasn't cutting it. Now we're on Bedrock Edition with a completed interior and exterior. You can see it's a lot of basic utilities, just things you'd need in a survival base. You might want a few spruce trapdoors to make shelves to put random assortments of items on. Your redstone torches might not look as good, but still, it's a necessary trade-off to have vibrant visuals for me. And we can see all around here, we just have a basic interior, some paintings, whatnot, and it's really the gradient that brings everything together. Additionally, we have some books here, we have pale moss carpets to hide certain textures, and we even have a bed, which means this is just a generally livable base. If we go down the stairs, the pale turns into deep slate bricks, and we can see very basic storage area, some redstone torches on the walls, but a single lantern in the middle to make sure no mobs spawn. The back wall is blackstone in order to just provide more contrast, a door to the mining system, and then another crafting table because I added that before I added the island in the middle. So hooray, we have mud flooring in order to just blend it, and all in all, we just have a very nice storage system. By the way, remember the upside down stair, where if I have the upside down stairs up there, then I can actually just open the chests. Then let's go out here, and here we have some giant candles. These are using end rods. If you don't have access to the end yet, no sweat, there's just other options, and this is not an important part. So yeah, we have that, but if we zoom out, we have some ghosts around the build. Along with that, some paths, more of those giant candles, and pieces of chiseled tough bricks. These ghosts are blobs of glass panes and glass with a banner on them. This is what happens when you put a black diamond in the middle, then a white cross, and then a black creeper face. And look, they look quite distraught. It's like they met me in real life. So we have that, and then they're glowing because some white candles on their backs. So hooray, we have some ghosts, fake trees, they're just tough growing in a weird pattern. You can literally just place down tough stairs until you get something that looks like a tree. These graves, very simple. It's just a grave and then some pale moss, a path that's just coarse dirt and grass path mixed in, and it just extends, which means this build is complete. It certainly works for the swamp, it's not exclusive to this biome, and it can be a witch's house if you want. Either way, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out, and enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.